The time is 7:15 p.m. and I'm calling the City Council Legislative and Legal Affairs Committee meeting to order. We have one item on our agenda, order number 25-1009598, communication from Mayor Dumas with proposed license to encroach between BMA Electric and the City of Marlborough for a proposed deck and ramp that slightly encroaches on city property at the back of the building at 269 Mechanic Street, adjoining the rail trail. We received a communication that was from our city engineer, Tom DePercio, dated November 10th, 2025. As a part of their renovation and reuse of the existing property at 269 Mechanic Street, the new owners of VMA Electric intend to use a deck and ramp on the rear of the building as a secondary entrance/egress. Because the property line runs along the rear of the building, the deck and ramp will encroach onto the city's abutting rail trail property. A license agreement has been drafted granting VMA the rights to encroach onto this public property with the deck and ramp. I've reviewed the license documents as to the location and dimensions of the encroachment, and the legal department has reviewed them as to proper form. I am respectfully requesting that the city grant the license. Please contact me with any questions. It was from Tom DePercio, our city engineer. So I feel like the city engineer's letter really outlines what this is about, and so I will open this up for discussion from the committee. Any discussion? Councilor Roby?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have an issue granting the license to encroach. I wish, however, that the applicant had come to get the license before building the ramp. The ramp is in place. I assume it had a permit. I hope it had a permit. But the fact that it was done first and then this request comes to us now is a little upsetting. But I would move to approve the license agreement between VMA Electric and the city to encroach.
Thank you, Councilor Roby. I will second that motion. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Vital?
Just to add on to what Councilor Roby says, I went down there and looked at it as well. They did a phenomenal job on the ramp itself. It's a nice piece of work. You know, it doesn't look crappy at all. It looks actually quite nice. And I'm told that that location may be coming back to this body for future endeavors utilizing that ramp. So I would support the use of that.
Thank you, Councilor Vital. I also share the sentiment of, putting the cart before the horse, and in this situation, it seems like we are fortunate that it does look very nice. I agree. So with that, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries 3-0. I'll entertain another motion. Councilor Fucillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to adjourn.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? 3, 4, none opposed. The meeting is adjourned at 7:18 p.m.
Good evening. I'm going to call the City Council Urban Affairs Committee meeting to order. It's Monday, December 1st at 7:30. We have one item on our agenda. Order number 25-109-513, an application for a special permit from Attorney Falk on behalf of First Choice Auto to modify the pre-existing non-conforming auto repair use by adding automobile sale as an accessory use at the property located at 229 Maple Street, which expires December 17th, 2025. Attorney Falk, you are present. You have your applicants with you. If you would like to open with any comments you have. I know we have a lot of department head comments and information from you.
Thank you, Councilor Roby, and committee members. For the record, Brian Falk, Front Street in Worcester, here on behalf of the applicant First Choice Auto Services. With me are owners David Henriquez and Ainley Pina. David and Ainley are tenants at the site looking to grow their small business in Marlboro after being here for almost 3 years. So we're seeking a special permit to add accessory auto sales to the existing auto repair shop. This would be accessory to the principal auto repair use. Looking to add between 3 to 5 cars that would be on display, replacing cars that are there for repair purposes. And again, it would be an accessory. The business will still be auto repair. They'll just have auto sales as a component of the business, like many auto shops do in Marlboro. We're in the commercial automotive zoning district along Maple Street, where auto repair and sales are allowed by right. Our property happens to be pre-existing non-conforming in a couple of different categories, which is why we need this special permit to add auto sales as an accessory use. We had our public hearing back on August 18th. No one spoke in opposition at the hearing from the public. Based on questions that we received at the hearing and from some department heads, we filed an updated site plan, which is a striping plan showing roughly where we would have cars on the site. You should have that in your packet before you, behind the draft special permit decision that I submitted. So the striping plan would work where it's the right side of the plan. This would be the northeast corner. That's where we would have the cars that are on display, cars for sale. We've added a few line spaces for customer parking and for employee parking. And then in the back, which would be the back left of the plan, which is the southwest portion of the site, that's where we have cars that are parked there for repair purposes, not customers coming in and out, but cars that we've parked there because they're at some point in the process of being repaired. So this would be an organization to the site in terms of what cars are where present. In addition to the striping plan, I submitted a draft special permit decision. I dropped off on your desk tonight a red line version of what I had originally filed. The red line edits show requested changes to the conditions and new conditions that were requested by department heads. There were some emails that went around, as Councilor Roby referenced, from department heads asking for some additional conditions or some changes to the conditions. So that's what you see there in red line. And all the changes are on page 4 of the draft decision if you're hunting around. What's highlighted in yellow are some additional edits that we suggested beyond what the department heads had put down. So I can go through that with you shortly. But highlighting some of the conditions that are specific to the use. First is the number. This would have a limit of no more than 5 cars for sale, but also no more than 20 cars on site at any given time, including all cars, customer cars, cars for repair, cars for sale. Right now, the site is not subject to that limitation or any limitation on the number of cars. So this would be an enforcement mechanism for the city with this site that's not presently there. The special permit would allow for that. So if there's one more car than supposed to be there, there's a zoning violation that the applicant would have to address. And currently that's not in place. Another condition I want to talk to you about is planters. We had talked about at the hearing, can we do more to improve the aesthetics at the site, to green the site? We're tenants at this site. There's not much we can really do with the existing lot coverage without consent from our landlord. But we thought would work is put some planters along the sidewalk. And so this condition requires that. The number and location is to be determined at site plan review. But the condition requires that we have these planters with some evergreen and flowering plants. And we think that'll go a long way to making the site look a lot better. One thing some department heads had asked for was some fencing where near the car storage area. We looked into it and we thought about it, and we really don't think that's practical given how small this site is. I know that's something the council has added to some other sites that had come in for special permits in this area, much larger sites that had room for it. We don't think that's practical, but we think with the planters, and we added language to the condition on planters that in addition to improving the aesthetics of the site, the planters are designed to provide some level of screening for the existing cars on site. So we can work with the site plan committee in terms of the best positioning of the planters that we do have control over as tenants. Another item that department heads had asked about was drainage improvements at the site. And again, as tenants, there's not a whole lot we can do without our landlord's consent. Drainage improvements at the site we think would be a significant challenge and might go beyond the scope of what we're looking for, which is to replace a few cars that are for repair with cars that are for sale. But we did add language, a condition that we have to work with the city engineer on options to improve drainage at the site, within our limitations as a tenant. We're recognizing that that is an issue, but we're trying to work within what we're able to do as tenants within the scope of this small change in use. Finally, there's a condition, it doesn't need to be there, but it's there for reference, which is that we have to obtain and comply with a Class 2 auto sales license from the city's licensing board. Currently, we have no reason to go before the licensing board as an auto repair shop, but we would as an auto sales operation. We need an annual Class 2 license from the licensing board. So that's really the city's ultimate enforcement. We have to go in for an annual license. If we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, we're not complying with the special permit, we're not running a good shop, the license could be revoked. It could be subject to non-renewal. So many times the council sees a special permit application, and that's the last the council hears of it. If conditions aren't complied with, it's up to the building commissioner to seek zoning enforcement and go through that process. Here, you've got a built-in show us how you're doing every single year because of the Class 2 auto sales license, which will be required so long as we're doing any level of sales at the site. So that's the draft decision and conditions. Happy to address your questions, and thank you for your time.
Fine, thank you, Attorney Fox. So I know some of this will be repetitive because you did just go through this, but I want to read through the comments that we did receive from the department heads, starting with William Payton, the building commissioner. The site plan seems to have a discrepancy regarding customer spaces. The table calls for 6 customer spaces, but only 2 are shown. Not sure if the cars in service storage area will house the other 6. Maybe that area should be delineated a little clearer. The special calls for no more than 20 vehicles at any given time are vehicles that may be in service-based part of that count. It does not seem that 20 vehicles would fit on the site itself. And from Priscilla Ryder, Conservation Sustainability Officer, I have reviewed the draft special permit and plans for 299 Maple Street First Choice Auto and have the following comments. Conditions for special permit, I have 3 suggested changes. Number 1, vehicle on site. The applicant should not display more than 5 vehicles for sale on the site at any given time. Inclusive of vehicles for sale, the applicant shall not have more than 20 vehicles on the site at any given time, unless through the site plan review process it has been determined that only a smaller number of vehicles can fit on the site, in which case the smaller number of vehicles will be the maximum allowed. Number 2, drainage. The applicant shall install drainage improvements on the site as feasible to capture contaminants from the site before they discharge into the street drainage system or adjacent wetland. Specific improvements and location to be determined during the site plan review process. 3, screening. The car service storage area shall be screened from Maple Street with appropriate fencing to be determined during the site plan review process. The Site Plan Reviews Committee's next meeting is on December 11th, which may be too late for us to meet to discuss this given the December 17th deadline, so we can work through the final details on the plans for the site plan review process after the City Council has issued the special permit. Plans will need to be updated during the site plan review process to include the location of the planters to be installed, to ensure there's enough room for planters and cars to be parked as shown. Screening of the car service storage areas from the street should be shown, as we have required at 418 Maple Street. C, 20 vehicles are maximum. Can the plan show striped areas how 20 vehicles will fit? It's not clear from this plan if this is feasible, and final car number should be determined by adequate striping to make this determination. Look for some drainage improvements on the site, as this is a high pollutant load type of business. And from Thomas DePercio, the city engineer, my general comment on this proposal is that I cannot recommend modifying the pre-existing non-conforming use by adding an auto sales use on this property due to the following. There are documented building and pavement encroaches onto the abutting state property. While this is not a city matter, I feel it should be rectified before the uses of the property are expanded. If the off-site paved areas are accounted for, the lot coverage on this property is 100%. We would look for a reduction in lot coverage as part of the special permit, but any reduction would make the addition of auto sales use very difficult, if not impossible. Access to and from the property is very limited, so adding another use that involves additional customers could be problematic from a safety standpoint. If approved, I concur with Bill's and Priscilla's comments on the draft decision. So before I go through the draft decision that Attorney Falk has provided with the red lines, does anybody have any questions? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I overall support this proposal. I think providing us at least some ability to put some teeth into an area that's not necessarily well controlled would be beneficial to the city. I think the issue is the number of total cars parked there. I'd rather have it, the wording be more clear, that the final number would be agreed between the applicant and site plan review, whatever the final number may be, instead of just arguing about whether or not it's 2019 at this point. Just, that's the only thing I'd prefer to see change in wording. I think at least providing some blockage to Maple Street would probably be beneficial too, so.
All right, I'm going to quickly go through this just in the issue of time. The decision on the special permit for First Choice Auto Services and Sales at 299 Maple Street. The only thing that I would suggest is that the plans in findings of facts number 5 have the date that corresponds with the amended or revised proposed parking date, which is October 2025, rather than June 13th, 2025. And I'm just going to go skipping through all of the stuff that has the details. I think it's all correct, and get to the actual conditions. Number 1 is construction in accordance with applicable laws, which is our typical language. Number 2 is site plan review, which is also typical language, that it's further subject to detailed site plan review by the Site Plan Review Committee. And no final occupancy permit shall be issued until the applicant has complied with all conditions provided, however, subsequent to the issuance of this special permanent site plan approval. They may authorize the phasing of site and building work depending on weather conditions and other factors. Number 3 is modification of the plans, notwithstanding conditions 1 and 2, the site plan review engineering changes to the plans. Number 4 is incorporation of submissions, that all plans, photo renderings as amended or revised during the application process are part of the plans. Number 5, vehicles on site. The applicant shall not display more than 5 vehicles for sale on the site at any given time, inclusive of vehicles for sale. The applicant shall not have more than 20 vehicles on the site at any given time. And then from Ms. Ryder, unless through the site plan review process, it is determined that only a smaller number of vehicles can fit on the site, in which case a smaller number of vehicles will be maximum allowed. 6, parking. Parking areas for vehicles under repair, employees, customers, and vehicles on display for sale shall be orderly and in designated striped areas as shown on the plan. The applicant shall not park vehicles for sale or under repair off of the site along public ways. Number 7, drainage has been amended to now read, as part of site plan review, the applicant shall work with the city engineer on options for drainage improvements designed to reduce runoff from the site. The screening language is gone. Is that okay with everybody, that there is no screening, or do we want, as requested by Ms. Ryder, to have screening be required and decided during the site plan review process? No comments? Counselor Preciado?
I believe the second option with Ms. Ryder's comments is...
I'm sorry?
The one with Ms. Ryder's comments.
That was one of her comments, and it was in the original draft and then was stricken from what Attorney Falk has now sent to us with the red and the yellow, or the blue and the yellow. So if we want to add it back in, we certainly can.
So, Madam Chair?
Counselor Doucette?
Thank you. So it seems that there's some bigger emphasis, instead of screening, fence screening, to go to planters screening. It seems that the intent is that the applicant is the tenant, not the...
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
Yeah. If we want to say some screening of vehicles under repair and addressing the, I'm assuming she's talking about to the south of the building garage, if that's where.
If you
southwest.
all have your original packets, the day that we did the public hearing, we received information from First Choice. There was a beautiful picture that we were given that shows the storage area,
Yeah.
which is just totally there with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars
5 trucks, yeah.
crammed beside auto service.
I have it up, right, I have it up right now on the laptop.
And if you recall, when we did, as was mentioned by Ms. Ryder, the facility across the street, we required them to put up a fence, vehicles that were in storage.
Madam Chair,
Counselor Oram.
I would support what our city employee Priscilla Ryder has recommended. Again, she's recommending the car service storage area, not the sales area. So I don't see an issue with that, and I would support that. I know I'm not on this committee, but I would like to add my comments to the request that Priscilla Ryder has made. Thank you.
Committee members?
Madam Chair?
Okay with adding it back in?
I have no
Counselor-
problems adding it back in. I said that earlier, as far as providing at least some degree of fencing.
Counselor Doucette, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry. I think overall, I was already supporting the idea of providing some degree of fencing. So, yeah, I think putting that back in would be fine.
Madam Chair, if it just may, if that's the committee's pleasure, which is the language on screening, if I could request that, if that language is reinserted into the decision, if we could strike the 2 words appropriate fencing, and just leave it with screening, or the area shall be screened from Maple Street to be determined during the site plan review process, that would at least give us the flexibility to work with the committee on whether planters would be satisfactory. We can control planters as tenants. I think practically, I'm aware that the city has required fencing in some of their cases. We looked at it. We really don't think it would work here, number one. But number two, I don't know that we get authorization to fence that area from our landlord. So if we at least, if site committee is determined fencing is the only way to go, then we'll have to work with them on that. But if it says appropriate fencing in the special permit, we don't have any flexibility. That's all we would be able to do, or come back for an amendment, which we're hoping to avoid.
Committee members okay with taking out the with appropriate screened from Maple Street to be determined during site plan review process? Okay, works for me. Number 8, and this numbering will have to be redone then. Planters, the applicant shall install planters along the front of the property, adjacent to the sidewalk, and along the northeast sideline of the site, with the size, number, and specific location of said planters to be determined during the site plan review process. New language designed to improve the aesthetics of the site and offer some screening of vehicles under repair. The applicant shall plant and maintain evergreen plants and flowering plants in the planters. Number 9, vehicle sale license. The applicant shall obtain and comply with the vehicle sales license from the city's licensing board. Number 10, noise and air quality. The applicant shall comply with the city's noise ordinance and shall comply with all state and federal requirements governing air quality emissions. And number 11 is the recording of the decision. Are there questions? Councilor decided it wasn't clear. Was there something else you wanted added in, or are you okay with?
The only thing, my comment was basically a better wording for the vehicles on site, saying that it'd be no more than 20 vehicles with the number agreed to by site plan review. It's just a wording thing. So,
And I think that until we know what is going to be determined by site plan, what that number is, vehicles
right,
on site.
I just have that question be resolved in site plan, not by this document.
Correct.
So that's, and just wording it better, so it's better English, that's all.
Okay.
But I'll,
Madam Chair, if I may, I have 3
Council Owen.
quick questions. Where do these cars come from, if I may? Are they delivered by a trailer truck? Where do they come from? The 5 cars for sale.
I can have David or Annalee answer, but my understanding is it's a combination of customers who just come by with their cars, or sometimes from dealerships that they do business with, they may be delivered in some capacity.
Is there a safe place to offload these cars for that delivery? Because I notice it's a problem down further. I use Maple Street quite a bit, and it does cause an issue when you're trying to offload from a trailer truck.
I'm not aware of there having been issues there, but they do sometimes come by trailer truck, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And-
I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
So through my client, David, large trailers aren't coming in. It's, one-off tow trucks or smaller capacity trucks bringing it to their site.
That will help. The other, during heavy rains, has there been any major puddling or drainage issues on site? Heavy rainstorms.
I mean, there are some puddles. It's obviously an older site and older pavement, so there is some puddling from time to time.
Thank you. And just the last question, how are spills handled, such as gasoline or oil?
Yeah, I mean, they would handle it the way you're, required, by law to.
What do they have on site right now for that, if I may? And that's it for my questions, Madam Chair. Say if a gas tank ruptured, what would you do?
They use sand on site that they use to
They do have
absorb
sand.
and clean it up in that regard.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your answers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? I'm sorry, Councilor Fricillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If there's no further discussion, I was just going to say that, to me, looking at the change of use, well, the addition of automobile sales as an accessory use of property, I see no significant increase in the amount of vehicles on site, right, based on what we've seen. If anything, there's the enforcement mechanism of the 20, plus site plan's going to take a look at it. The change of use is not substantially more detrimental to the existing, non-conforming use. So for all those reasons, I'm in support of this change, so I would move to approve.
All right, Councilor Fricillo has moved to approve. Is there further discussion? With none, I will then just comment. I personally cannot approve this. I have to believe that a lot of work and a lot of thought went into Mr. DePercio's comment, as well as the building department's comments, looking at the pictures that we received, looking at the map that we have. I do not see how you can get the number of cars that they want on here, and I don't need to allow them to add another use of sales to their business, so I will not be supporting this. But with that, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a comment? Oh,
I'll second it.
Well, I normally say.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, Counselor Doucette, second. So, all right, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, and I am opposed. Okay. I will be reporting this out so that it can be on the December agenda in proper form. I'll ask for suspension when I report it out tonight. So
Thank
we
you very
can
much.
Get this approved or not. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chair?
Councilor Patillo. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are adjourned at, what time is it? 7:55. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'll call the City Council to order at 8 o'clock on Monday evening, December 1st, 2025. The meeting is being recorded. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get started, be seated. I would like to welcome the Scouts from Troop 2 in Marlborough. The Scouts are working on their citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. Good job. Councilor Facillo said he will stay after the meeting for as long as it takes to answer your questions. Thank you, Councilor Facillo. We have 23 items on this evening's agenda, and I'll ask the clerk to please read agenda item number 1.
Communications from City Council President Ossing and City Solicitor Jason Grossfield regarding the appointment of the Ward 7 City Councilor pursuant to Chapter 65 of the Acts of 2025.
Mr. Clerk, could I have you read both correspondences, please?
Sure. Correspondence from Council President Ossing to Honorable Mayor Dumas per the vote of the City Council by Council Order 25-109-414B adopted on May 5th, 2025. I am pleased to invite you to the City Council meeting on December 1st, 2025, at which time the City Council will officially appoint Councilor-elect Matthew S. Sargent to fill the seat left vacant by the death of former Councilor Donald Landers. In accordance with the City Charter, please stand ready to place your signature on said vote. Immediately thereafter, the City Clerk Kerrigan will administer the oath of office to Councilor-elect Sargent. We are pleased to invite you, Mayor Dumas, to join with the City Council to complete the required appointment process. And a communication from City Solicitor Jason Grossfield. Dear Honorable President Ossing and Councilors, I write to advise you of the approval of a special act, Chapter 65 of the Acts of 2025, following the city's prior authorization of a home rule petition to seek special legislation concerning the above-referenced matter. Enclosed is a copy of Chapter 65 of the Acts of 2025, signed into law on November 19th, 2025. Section 1 of Chapter 65 provides that the City Council shall vote by a majority to appoint the Ward 7 Councilor at the regular 2025 municipal election to fill the remainder of the unexpired term for the currently vacant Ward 7 Councilor position. Please contact me if you have any questions. Respectfully, Jason D. Grossfield, City Solicitor.
Councilor Facillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Looking forward to my conversation with the Scouts later, but move to accept and file the 2 communications.
Motion's made and seconded to accept and place on file the 2 communications. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The communications are filed. The vote is 10-0. Councilor Facillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to appoint Councilor-elect Matthew S. Sargent to fill the seat left vacant by the passing of former Councilor Donald Landers.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Matthew Sargent as the Ward 7 City Councilor. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The vote carries. Vote is 10-0. If I could ask the police chief and the fire chief and the mayor, well, police chief and fire chief, to escort Councilor Sargent to the podium, and also invite the mayor up as well. And I will say, both chiefs, you're looking mighty sharp tonight. Thank you, Chief Breen, and thank you, Chief Georgie. I would ask the clerk to have the mayor sign the order, and then ask the clerk to read or administer the oath of office to Matthew Sargent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Matthew S. Sargent,
I, Matthew S. Sargent,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
and will support the Constitution thereof,
and will support the Constitution thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Matthew S. Sargent,
I, Matthew S. Sargent,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent upon me
all of the duties incumbent upon me
as Ward Councilor of the City of Marlborough,
as Ward Councilor of the City of Marlborough,
according to the best of my ability and understanding,
according to the best of my ability and understanding,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth,
of the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Marlborough.
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Marlboro.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Matthew S. Sargent,
I, Matthew S. Sargent,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Counselor.
Mr. Mayor, Chief Georgie, Chief Breen, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you. Congratulations, Councilor Sargent, and welcome to the City Council. With that, agenda item number 2.
Minutes of the City Council meeting, November 17th, 2025.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on file the minutes.
Motion's made and seconded to accept and place on file the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are filed, and the vote is 11-0. Agenda item number 3.
Now is the time for the public hearing on the petition of Cablevision Lightpath LLC to install approximately 665 feet of 1 to 4 inch SCH-40 PVC communications conduit from pole 63 on Forest Street to pole 59 with one 24 by 30 handhole near the entrance to 753 Forest Street. In addition, to install approximately 490 feet of 1 to 4 inch SCH-40 PVC communications conduit from existing pole 58 on Forest Street to pole 55 with one 24 by 30 handhole near the entrance to 669 Forest Street. Order number 25-100, 9599.
Okay, this public hearing we've taken up in 4 stages. First, with the public speaking in favor. Second, questions from the public. Third, public speaking in opposition. And finally, questions or comments from the City Council. So we'll open the first part of the public hearing with the public speaking in favor, starting with the applicant. But I can have the applicant come up and state their name and address for the record.
Good evening, Herb Bertoni from Lightpath.
Even Herb, you want to just give an overview of the project?
Sure. We're proposing along Forest Street to place approximately a total of 1,155 feet of 1 4-inch PVC conduit. That's for a new service that we're providing to 555 Forest Street.
Okay.
It's for communication, for fiber optic cable.
Thank you, Herb. Any other members of the public speak in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Are there any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Are there any members of the public speaking in opposition? Any members of the public speaking in opposition? Any members of the public speaking in opposition? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions from the city councilors? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is fiber optic, is that
Yes.
the case? And is, once you pull the conduit, is that going to be exclusive to you, or would you support?
We can lease out space in the conduit, yes.
Okay, just wanted clarification on that, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Any other? Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. So my question would be, based on what you're requesting, is this something that is already throughout the city of Marlboro? I never heard of Cablevision Lightpath, to be honest with you. I've heard of Xfinity, I've heard of Verizon, but you're new to me, and is this something that is expected throughout the city?
No, we presently pass through the city. We built a backbone going out to, was it Force? One of our data centers anyways. So we pass through, and this is just a lateral to provide service to a new customer off of that backbone.
So you're trunking off something that's going through the city, but
Yes.
it doesn't go throughout the entire city?
Correct.
At the time?
Correct.
Thank you. It's just new to me. I didn't know if you
Right.
were a competitor to Verizon and Xfinity. That's why.
Right. It's,
When I saw Cablevision, I thought a provider in town.
no, it's a long haul.
Okay.
A lot of big pipes, dark fiber, large bandwidth. Yeah, it's not fiber to the home or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Ong. Counselor Doucette?
Thank you very much. So this is more for data center and business use? Is that the intent?
Yeah, large enterprise businesses.
Enterprise business data centers?
Right,
Yeah.
right, correct.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Doucette. Any other members of the councilors with questions? Any questions from the city councilors? Questions from the city councilors? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Counselor Facillo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to suspend the rules to accept a communication from City Engineer DePercio.
Motion is made and seconded to suspend the rules to accept the communication from our city engineer. Any discussion on the motion or suspension? All those in favor? Opposed? Suspension carries 11-0. Counselor Facillo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve with the conditions submitted by Engineer DePercio.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the petition subject to the conditions identified by the city engineer. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The petition is approved with the conditions of the city engineer, and the vote is 11-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4.
Now is the time for the joint tax classification public hearing with the Board of Assessors to determine the percentage of local levy to be borne by each class of property for fiscal year 2026, order number 25-100-9601.
Again, this public hearing will be taken up the same 4 stages: public speaking in favor, questions from the public, public speaking in opposition, and questions from the city council. Since this is a joint hearing of the Board of Board of Assessors and the city council, you might want the Board of Health after you're here. We'll open it up for the first portion, which is the public speaking in favor, and I will turn it over to Patrick, Ellen, and Jonathan.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Greenhall. I'm the principal assessor here for the city of Marlborough. I started in August. I'm super excited to be here tonight to present. This is what generally a difficult vote, but it's the tax residential factor. And I have a brief presentation of essentially like how we got here. So let's start it off. The tax classification general overview. So everyone should have this PowerPoint presentation that was part of your packet as well. I know it's a little difficult to read up here. But the City Council first adopts a budget, and that establishes the expenditures for the fiscal year. The fiscal 26 budget for Marlborough was adopted on May 20th of 2025. And the final tax levy is actually not established until the Department of Revenue approves our total values and certifies our new growth. Once approved, the City Council must determine the percentage of the tax levy to be borne by each class of property. So that's what brings us here tonight. The Department of Revenue must review and approve the selected residential factor before final tax rates are set. So what is our role? For the Board of Assessors, we are required by law to determine what is called the full and fair cash value of all real property. And what does that mean? Essentially, that's the value upon which a willing seller and a willing buyer will agree if both are fully informed and not under any compulsion. So the total number of parcels that we have to value every single year in Marlborough is approximately 12,869. What is the Department of Revenue's role? They are tasked with certifying that the assessed values are in compliance with full and fair cash value, and additionally that our tax levy is in compliance with Proposition 2.5. And we'll talk about that momentarily. So the valuation certification, the DOR certifies the assessed values once every 5 years, and Marlborough's last certification was done in fiscal 24. There are interim year adjustments, which we are still required to assess at full and fair cash value. The Department of Revenue still verifies our values are in compliance by looking at recent sales. Key assessment dates. As you all know, the fiscal year runs from July 1st of 2025 to June 30th of 2026. The legal disbursements are always as of January 1st, in this case, January 1st of 2025. But we have a physical status date of June 30th. So we basically take what's physically on the property on June 30th and basically transport it to, as though it was there on January 1st to determine its full and fair cash value. What is the property tax levy? So this is the revenue that a community raises through real and personal property taxes. In Massachusetts, municipal revenues to support local spending for schools, public safety, and other municipal services are raised through the property tax levy, state aid, local receipts, and some other sources. The property is typically the largest source of revenue for most cities and towns. Now, we have to be in compliance with Proposition 2.5. So what is that? That looks at our total values, and the levy ceiling is essentially the maximum amount that can ever be levied, and that number is 2.5% of the overall assessed values of real and personal property. This number changes every single year based on market conditions. The levy limit, now this is often the maximum amount a community can raise, and it's basically a formula that adds 2.5% plus new growth to determine the levy limit, and we'll go through numbers more specifically in a moment. The levy is the actual amount of money raised to fund the city's budget. So Proposition 2.5 as applied to Marlborough for fiscal 26. Our fiscal 25 levy limit was $175 million. So with Prop 2.5, you get a 2.5% increase, so that's $4,397,000. Our certified new growth for fiscal 26 was $2.6 million. So thus, our levy limit is $182,955,000. Our actual levy is $118 million. Therefore, we actually have excess levy capacity of $64.5 million. The next page is a chart showing just what the excess levy capacity is from 2010 to the proposed for 2026. New growth. So this is new taxable value that includes new homes, commercial development, or new personal property. What new growth does allow is it actually helps control the tax rate by spreading the tax levy over a larger base, thus keeping the tax increases on average smaller. New growth does not include any valuation increases on the full and fair cash value market adjustments. So we were certified for $2.6 million of new growth. This is a chart showing the breakdown between personal property, which was $1.1 million, residential also $1.1 million, and commercial industrial, we had $270,000. In fiscal 26, the average residential valuation overview. So the single-family home in Marlborough increased 3%, up to $611,100. The condominiums increased 1.7% overall for an average value of $357,000. Two families increased 3.2% to $598,000, and three families increased 2.8% to $678,000. This is a chart just showing the average single-family value and tax in Marlborough since 2022 to 2026. Assessed value. So this is a chart looking at our total assessed values as a percent between residential and commercial. And this is important because the vote that we're about to take, or that you're about to take tonight, is going to shift basically what the value is to determine what the levy is. So for example, in fiscal 26, 74.71% of our total value is residential, and commercial is 25.29%. And the next, what you are charged with tonight is determining how that levy is going to be funded by the various classes. It's called the tax factor, and the city council can move part of that tax burden from homeowners, which is the residential class, to businesses, the CIP class, by selecting a residential factor. A 1 would be a single rate. Anything below a 1 would shift the tax burden from residential to CIP. State law limits the maximum shift to 150%, And the calculation essentially compares the residential taxes at a single rate and the residential share of the levy after shifting part of the levy to the CIP. And I think the next chart will clear this up a little bit. So the chart on the left is the total percentage of the full and fair cash value of residential, 74.71, versus CIP, 25.29. The chart on the right, at the proposed residential factor, would shift the burden. You'll see the orange on the left is much larger. So the shift would essentially result in the residential class paying 62.82% of the levy and CIP paying 37.18% of the levy. Here's the shift over from 2012 to 2024, the city of Marlborough. Now, the maximum shift here is 1.5. The proposed rate, recommended rate tonight is 1.47. Average single-family tax bill. So this is a chart looking at the surrounding community, and you'll see that Marlborough is by far the lowest. The chart is sorted by fiscal 25, because we don't have all of the data yet for fiscal 26, but I suspect that even when all of the other towns submit their tax rates, that Marlborough will still be well below sort of our neighboring communities. This is an area average tax bill showing the change over the last 3 years. And you'll see Marlborough's as $64.33 in change in average assessed tax bill change. Now, the next chart is very difficult to see up here, but I did submit this to everyone as well. These are essentially the options that you can take to determine what the residential tax factor should be, and that also what the resulting residential and commercial tax rates would be. So the proposed residential factor is 0.8409. That would result in a residential tax rate of $10.54 and a CIP rate of $18.43. The average single-family home bill would increase by approximately $1. We feel comfortable with increasing the shift a little from 1.45 to 1.47 because, as you all know, the residential market the past few years has been extremely hot versus the commercial and industrial, where it's been a little more stagnant and frankly some decreases as well. So a slight change in the shift we think would be appropriate, while also still leaving some room between 1.47 and 1.45 if it's needed sort of in the future. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Hang on, we'll hold.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry. I will sit down for the moment.
And you can speak from there as well, Pat, because they come up. Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any members of the public speaking in favor? Any members of the public speaking in favor? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Are there any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Public speaking in opposition. Any members of the public speaking in opposition? Any members of the public speaking in opposition? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions or comments from the city councilors? Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. President. What were the factors that you looked at when coming up with the shift? I mean, we're going from a 25.29 to a 37. That's a big jump for our corporate partners in town. Why such a great shift?
Good question. So the overall values for the residential market have been substantial. So we have some room to go from a 1.45. We can basically go from 1.45 to 1.5. So the option was to recommend a rate that would end with a shift of 1.47 because the commercial market has been relatively stagnant. So they're seeing kind of a lower average tax bill just because of their values have been relatively flat versus the residential market, where not only are they seeing higher values and therefore higher taxes. So we thought this was a fair recommendation to help out.
Thank you. And one more question. Do we have any history or any surveys that, like you did, that indicate how much of a shift this would impact the future development that we have trying to bring new business into the city?
No, that's a good question, and obviously that is what makes this vote so difficult. I do not have any sort of statistics that would show what a shift, how that would impact future development, but you're hitting it right to what makes this vote difficult.
Mr. President, if I may, John Steinberg, Chair of the Board of Assessors. It is a very good question, and one of the things that I've learned over time is you don't know what you don't get. It's very difficult to evaluate that and enumerate it because if you have companies that are looking to go somewhere, they evaluate many different criteria. They evaluate zoning, location, you name it. So if they see a factor that inhibits them, you might never hear from them. So it's almost impossible to enumerate that. I can tell you anecdotally, being involved in the town of Westboro, which is somewhat competitive with Marlboro in terms of commercial development, I will tell you that being location matters the most. Relative from one tax rate to another in this area, they're all pretty close. You will have towns like Framingham that hit over $20 for commercial industrial properties and don't have much opportunity. I give credit to the Marlboro Economic Development Corporation at doing an excellent job of bringing companies here, and I think that with this shift, you still maintain a rate low enough to continue to attract business simply based upon our zoning, business-friendly government, and location to continue to drive that growth.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Vital. Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for your answer. I was actually going to repeat a little bit of what you said in respect to attracting businesses. The Mass Municipal Association offered a conference about 5 years ago, and they mentioned that commercial industrial businesses pretty much are looking more at location. Yes, you can have a shift, but taxes are not their primary concern, according to the conference I went to. Location, water, sewer. You got to put a septic in. You said you might have been the Board of Health earlier. That way, that's a major burden where the magnet is really having the availability to water and sewer, and most important, as was mentioned, location. We have to thank our previous leaders who decided that the west side of Marlboro was a great location on 490 for businesses. So we're very fortunate. Marlboro sits in one of the best spots around. And the other note I wanted to make, though, Marlboro, because of our great location and because of the cost of housing going up, if I was a developer, I would say, yeah, I think I'm going to increase housing, find ways to increase housing. It's a big market, a lot of money in it. But the mayor had noted in his letter to us, and I'll read it, with costs continuing to increase and as we continue to make capital investments, including a new elementary school and a planned fire station, our budget will face pressures. So we must continue to carefully evaluate new projects that are proposed for Marlboro and consider their impact to our budget and revenues. That is key and critical to where we go in the future here. And it's been discussed on this floor that if we want to attract housing, we are also going to be needing to build schools, fire stations, and so forth. So my message here is we as a city still need to try to attract more commercial industrial buildings. They don't have the same cost as if it was housing. So I just want to make that very important. I thank the mayor for putting that statement in there. That speaks loud and clear, And I've been trying to speak that for a while, but we're in FY '26 right now, not knowing where we're going in FY '27 or '28, but we are definitely heading towards the needs that are created by housing development. Thank you, Mr. President. Called you Mr. Mayor right there. Thank you.
That works. Thank you, Councilor Oram. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Facillo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Assessor, Board of Assessors, for the presentation tonight. I just have a couple of comments just regarding, the tax rate, and then also, remind folks, tonight is arguably the most important vote that we take as a council, right? It's also important to remember, as you said in the presentation earlier, Mr. Assessor, that, tonight's vote is predicated on actions taken by this body over the course of the last year, right? It starts in May when we approve the budget, but it also includes investments in economic growth, supporting the right projects, right, and bringing in top-line revenue to the city of Marlborough. And so over the past year, we've brought in $2.6 million worth of new growth, which is good, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done by this body and by our city. And so here are just some of the facts, going back to that budget we approved in May, because that's the cornerstone of the vote we take tonight. We approved a budget increase of $18 million between fiscal year 25 and 26. From what I've heard, it's the largest increase in our city's history, right? So how do we pay for the budget? President Ossing tells us all the time, local receipts, state aid, and then the tax levy. So how are we doing on state aid? We had 1 year of exceptional growth from what I've seen when we got the SOA funding, the Student Opportunity Act. Since then, we get about $4 million every year from the state, roughly. Sometimes it's a little lower, a little more. Local receipts, the last couple of years, we gain $1 million, lose $1 million, right? It's unpredictable what we're going to get there. This year, we're transferring $40,000 from the sale of graves, right? Pretty modest amount, as well as the Board of Assessors releasing $1 million from the excess overlay. Thank you. And on top of that, $1 million from the meals tax for debt service. So when you add all that up, that's about $7 million. We had an $18 million budget increase. So that's an $11 million increase to the levy that we're facing. The levy to be raised is $118 million, as we all know, almost an 11% increase from last year. And so we've heard the numbers, but it's important that we say them again. Roughly $591 increase on the average single-family homes tax bill. Now, I know some folks don't like to talk about the average single-family home, so for condos, that's $302. For two-family homes, that's $589. And for three-family, that's $642. You'll say, well, that's not going to impact the renters in those homes. Well, it will, because the owners and the landlords are going to raise their rent. So, the average single-family home is a good metric for us, but affordability, it goes far beyond that. It goes far beyond our homeowners. For folks on a fixed income, this is going to be a difficult year, right? This is an unprecedented increase in property taxes. And for all of our residents, it's unprecedented because this isn't the steady and predictable way that Marlborough has operated for so long. So the reason I mention all of this is to remind folks that the budget we set and the projects we approve or deny have a direct impact on tonight's vote. Right? We encourage, I am here to encourage councilors to look at development with an open mind, right? Let's treat every project on a case-by-case basis, right? Not every project is perfect for the city of Marlborough. We know that, and that's why we say no to the ones that aren't. But we're not elected to be anti-development or to be for development all the time. We're elected to serve on the council, and in those responsibilities is to be the special permit granting authority of the city, right? So it's when a special permit comes before us, it's our job to take a look at that with an open mind. Right? On almost every project I've heard over the past 2 years has been two concerns. Strain on our services, and it causes traffic. Right? For those concerned about the schools, Councilor Oram, you're correct. We're making a major investment in a 950-student elementary school. It's several years down the pipeline, but we're moving in that direction. We're working with the school committee, and we're working with the school department. And when that school's built, that's going to afford us the opportunity to reduce class sizes. That's the number one thing I hear from the teachers I talk to. The class sizes, they're bursting at the seams. So that's going to get solved when we build the new richer school. For those who think that all the housing coming into the city, the new developments, I should clarify, all the apartments and the condos, right, we've built 598 new units since 2019, and we've only seen 27 students added to our school district. That number comes from our school department. So there's no conversation about, is this housing project going to add students? It's just not. The numbers from the school department are telling us that it's not. On top of that, we have 580 units to come online from what we've approved since 2019. So we double it, possibly 54 students based on everything we've approved from 2019. Now, city services. In the last 2 years that I've been here, we always support transfers from our department heads. We're working on the West Side Fire Station, slowly but surely. And we have fully funded our union contracts every time they come down here for our union workers. And the last thing, traffic. I don't know a city that doesn't have traffic issues. If there is one, tell me. I'll go there and study what they do. But I regularly go to Traffic Commission to advocate for Ward 6 in our streets, right? I see other councilors there. I think we do a fantastic job as a group. We work to represent our citizens, we work to represent our wards, and I get a ton of help from the at-large councilors who loop me in on things that they're seeing. It's the traffic issue. So I leave you all with this. In order to make the city more affordable for all residents, we have to support steady projects. We need a steady line of top-line revenue coming into the city. And if we don't do that, then we have to cut the budget. And I know that's something none of us want to do, right? Now, we need to make trims to it when we can, but we don't want to make those substantial cuts. And if we don't do that, at the end of the day, taxes will continue to rise. So that's my message to councilors tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Pacillo. Any other members of the councilors? Any other councilors? Councilor Roby, would you mind taking the podium?
Are there any other councilors who'd like to speak?
Madam Chair.
Councilor Ossing.
Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. Again, I'll go over a couple of my goals and then give you some of my insights on this tax increase. So the goals I use, there's 5 of them: steady, predictable tax adjustments, basically less than 5% on the average single-family home, avoid those swings, build a stabilization account between 7 and 11% of our budget, maintain the margin to that 1.5 split that you heard Patrick talk about, recognize as a financially solid municipality by our creditors because it impacts our bond rating, and maintain attractive tax rates for the residents in the commercial facilities, basically be competitive with the surrounding towns. So, why is this the largest tax increase? All right? The answer really is quite simple. 3 factors. It's the largest budget increase in the city's history, unwillingness by the council to significantly reduce the budget, and insufficient new revenue. That's it. Big budget, no cuts, not bringing in enough revenue. Back in May, the submitted budget increase was $19.4 million. The projected tax increase at that time was $769. So the major budget increases for fiscal year 26, all right, of that $19 million, 14 of that $1 million, 14.6, came from 5 line items, all right? In the schools, this isn't pitting anybody against, this is just stating facts, made up $10.5 million of that increase. The school budget went up $7.2 million, school health insurance went up $2.4 million, Aspet Valley went up $1 million, then the city health insurance went up 1.6, and our 2026 bond payment went up $2.2 million. Okay? Those are just those 5 items alone, $14 million, over 10 of it attributed to the schools. And I'll tell you right now, school increases, that $7.2 million, unsustainable. Okay? It really is. That's almost as much as the budget in its entirety went up last year. All right? So the council, we reduced the budget by $1.4 million. So we got it down to $18 million. As we said back in May, that's now going to be a $690 impact to the average household. Prior budgets were less than $8 million or less, and taxes were less than $200. In my tenure on the council for 26 years, never had a tax increase for the average house over $200. Just hasn't happened. All right? With some one-time adjustments to the overlay reserve, thank you, Ms. Bryan, thank you. All right? And some local revenue projections, the taxes were adjusted to just under $600. As you heard Patrick say, the average house is going to see an increase of $591. 3 main drivers that drive paying for city services: new revenue, reduce the budget, raise taxes. Okay, that's it. You're either bringing in new revenue, you're reducing the budget, or you're raising taxes. That's it. So how are taxes determined? It's my simple A plus B plus C equals D theory. state revenue, local receipts, taxes equal the budget. You heard Councilor Facilla tell you, state aid's not keeping up, $4 million increase this year, which is, if it was an $8 million budget increase, we would have done okay, all right? Local aid increased by 1.8 million, not bad, again, for an $8 million budget. But again, the budget went up $18 million. Prior years, again, $8 million was the largest budget increase we've ever seen. So increase in state aid, local receipts, and new growth were able to keep up with tax adjustments under 200 for an $8 million budget increase. State aid, local receipts, and new growth at the current levels do not make up an additional $10 million, which is why there is a significant tax increase. It literally is that simple. So how did the City Council do approving new growth? Let's take a look at some of the projects the Council voted on in 2025. We approved the following projects: McDonald's on Route 20 East, the Marlborough Hospital expansion. Problem is they don't pay property tax for a hospital. Coffee shop on Maple Street, the Taj Estates, okay, won't hit the tax break for a while. The TIF for the crime lab, Glendale Estates, we're going to be voting on that later tonight. Rebuild of the Curtis Ave Car Wash, marijuana testing lab at 260 Cedar Hill. Again, all those good, 2 to 3 years before they're going to hit the tax base, assuming they get built. There's chances they may not make it, all right? So again, not enough new revenue coming in to make to offset that $18 million budget increase. We denied some projects, the car wash at 223 East Main, the warehouse at 401 Elm, so that's lost revenue. And oh, by the way, we're in court on all of those, so we'll see where that goes. Projects that are in progress approved city councils, the Armory, 17 units, Cashman Street condos, 12 units, 57 Main Street, 92 units, McGee Farm, 140 units, Alta French Hill, 278. These are all projects approved years ago, but they have not fully impacted our new growth yet. But I can't stress enough the importance of having, as Councilor Facilla mentioned, a pipeline of having new revenue coming into the city. If we don't have new growth, councilors, we either guys cut the budget or just accept the fact we're going to raise taxes. And I personally, not excited about that. During the campaign, I heard a lot from both the pro-growth and the no-growth camps. Neither one's wrong. It all depends what you want to do. If there is no growth, then the taxpayers pick up a larger share of the levy. It's really that simple. I mean, if we're not going to grow, that's more burden on the taxpayers. For those that don't want new growth, whether it's businesses or new homes, need to accept significant tax increases. When I ask what do they offer to generate new revenue, it's a deer in the headlight look. I don't get an answer. Again, it's okay if you don't want new growth, but accept the outcome or come up with something else, and I have not heard that something else yet. I don't like higher taxes, and I work tirelessly to promote new growth to provide the needed revenue to offset ever-increasing budgets. Just like the mayor stated at the MEDC Founders Reception 2 weeks ago, the right parcel, the right project with the right developer, all right? The city needs new growth, period. Alternatively, budget increases need to be less than $10 million. The council has not shown that appetite to reduce the budget. So looking ahead, a new richer school is going to add $310 to the average tax bill. A new fire station is going to add $145 to the average tax bill. Together, that's an increase of over $450 to the average tax bill. So next year's budget contains no salary increases, not so much, 3% increase. No new positions, so we have a control, authorize any new positions. No increase in the pension, yeah, it's already going up $400,000, so that's already there. No increase in health insurance, not so much, that's already going up at least $1 million. So just, again, as I said, the debt service alone for the school and the fire station would be $450. That's before we even put a pencil to the budget. So going back to the three factors, bring in new growth, reduce the budget, or raise taxes. If you don't want new growth, start cutting the budget or accept higher taxes. If you want steady, stable, predictable tax adjustments, budget increases need to be less than $10 million. That's to you. all right? And steady pipeline and new growth of projects need to be in play. So going back to my 5 goals, almost done here. How do we do? Steady, predictable percent. Failed big time. This is the largest tax increase on the average home in my 26 years on the council. This year, there's a significant swing in the order of 10% increase, so that's steady, predictable. We didn't come close. Build a stabilization account between 7 and 11%. All right, our budget's $213 million, so you want to have between 15 and 23 million. We have $26 million in our stabilization account. Excellent. Doesn't count West Side Fire Station, open space money, or McGee Farms. So credit goes to the mayor and the finance team as well as the council for the financial policies that have money going into these accounts. So good, we met that one. Maintain the margin of the 1.5 split. So Patrick and Brian and the mayor will tell you, I'm not excited that the split went up. All right, went up to 1.47. Last year's 1.45. But I recognize in these more challenging times when assessed value on housing is going up and the commercial property is basically staying flat, we need to give some relief to our residents. Because once we hit that 1.5, we're done. It all now goes on the backs of the residents. So keeping some of that to help offset potential impact is important. So I'll be supporting that. So again, we maintain the margin. So I think we're doing okay. Fourth one, recognized as a solid municipality by our creditors, basically bond impact. So creditors recognize Marlboro as a AAA rated facility. So Mr. Mayor, Brian, well done. That means when we go bond that school and bond that fire station, we're going to get lower rates. What did Brian say, over $1 million or something?
1.4 million.
1.4 million we can save. All right, so that's a big, and if you saw what we cut last time, that's about $90 off your taxes. So that's a good deal. So we need to work hard to keep that going. And the last one, number 5, maintain attractive tax rates for residents. Beauty is in the eye of the taxpayer, folks, and I acknowledge people may not enjoy paying taxes. I mean, that's a real earth-shattering statement. The residential tax rate in Marlboro is lower than any of our surrounding communities. Okay? The CIP rate in Marlboro is competitive with surrounding communities that have a single tax rate. We are lower than any of the ones that have a split tax rate. So that's great if you look at that, but I tell people you don't pay the tax rate, you pay your taxes. But when you compare what Marlboro offers and the value it brings, Marlboro's knocking it out of the park. So in conclusion, we met 4 of my 5 goals. The budget increase of $18 million are just not sustainable. The city needs to return to a budget increase of $8 to $10 million and ensure a pipeline of new projects to keep in a steady, predictable tax adjustment. If there's insufficient new growth and an unwillingness to reduce the budget, taxes are going to be increased. So I support the mayor's recommendation to set the residential factor at 0.8409 with a corresponding shift of 1.47. Thank you, Madam President. Any other questions from the city councilors? Councilor Orm.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if Councilor Vital had his hand up before me, but thank you. Thank you, Councilor Vital. And thank you for your overview. I didn't come with more than what I have seen through my years on the city council. And the most important thing I saw this past year for our tax setting, not tax setting, our budget setting, was that we spend less than Framingham per by at least 1,000 if not more. We have to realize the facts here. The facts are you can't just throw money at students. What we've seen, we're not keeping our part when it comes to the schools. Go talk to some parents and tell them, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I'm a parent of 3 kids, and I'm going to have a grandson in the schools someday. I'm very concerned that we spend the appropriate amount of funding for our students. We have students back here. I didn't know they were coming, but again, let's face the reality. We have got to start looking at getting commercial, industrial businesses into our vacant buildings. We know they're already on Lazat Drive. and they never got them in there. If we're going to do economic development, we have got to get commercial industrial businesses into this city. Work as hard as we can to do that. Because if you look at the value of having housing, additional housing, it definitely benefits us to have commercial industrial. No ands or buts about it. So I would say continue to try to make our economic development overview to get commercial industrial in this city. And again, fill in the existing empty buildings. There's so many empty buildings right now. We got to get better at it. We are a magnet. There's no ands or buts about it. We're in the best location, I think, in Massachusetts. And yes, we do offer TIFs, but that means we lose tax revenue. But that's how we got the state police lab in our city. But again, when we do that, we're losing revenue. So you've got to think twice, especially knowing we are the crossroads in Massachusetts. As mentioned, I know I'm repeating myself, but we're also the magnet because we offer water and sewer. And I'll leave it at that. But we have got to be realistic about our needs. And if we're going to support housing, we have to be realistic about fire, police, and schools. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple points here. First of all, Councilor Oram, most research will show that by providing more money into education doesn't impact the quality of education that the students receive. So adding more money does not solve the problem. We're talking a lot tonight about rates and shifts and all this stuff, and condos, and how much that condos are going to pay, and how many single families are going to pay. But let me put a face to it, please. I think that's where we lose it a little bit. Agnes lives down in Hemingway. She bought her house for $7,000 in 1962. Her and her husband raised a family of 3 children. They all went through the schools, all moved out of the area. Agnes's husband died 3 years ago. She told me she has $37 at the end of the month, extra. She can't go out to eat because she just doesn't have enough money to go out to eat. And now I got to go talk to Agnes and say, oh, Agnes, by the way, your taxes are going to go up $600. Agnes will say to me, Councilor Vital, all I want to do is die in my house. That's what she said to me. When we are looking at tax increases, where we can't just talk about numbers and shifts and percentages. It's not right. We got to put a face to it. We got to put Agnes's face to it and say, how do we tell all the people, all the seniors? Seniors are particularly affected by this increase, in my opinion. You know, how do they keep their house? So, Councilor Ficcioli, you spoke eloquently tonight, man. You know, who was your teacher in 6th grade? Oh, by the way, that was me. I'm so proud of you, man. We really do have to look beyond the numbers. Every time we have a new development coming in, we have to say, how can we make this thing work? And, God, I hate having to talk to Agnes, but you know, that's something we're all going to have to decide tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Vital. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to clarify one thing, just so that I understand. Councilor Oram, you had mentioned about TIFs taking away tax revenue, and from my belief, that's not true because we are still collecting the base of what that property would have paid without any additional investment into the property. So what the TIF actually does is it saves the business from having to pay on their investment. However, we're not losing tax revenue. We are just, we're helping the business by giving them a break on the big investments that they're taking. I just wanted to almost pose it as a question to make sure that that is the correct way to view a TIF.
That was correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Anyone else? Any other questions from the councilors? Questions from the councilors? Any questions from the councilors? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing and the entire public hearing. Board of Assessors, Jonathan, Allen, Patrick, outstanding. Oh, sure. Absolutely, absolutely.
I just want to take a moment, Mr. President, and thank Patrick and Ellen and Patrick's staff this year. John Villade served us well for many years, And we, as a city, are very fortunate to have landed Patrick. He's done a great job taking over here, and appreciate his presentation and his presence in the office. So I just want to thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Jonathan. Anything else? All right, that closes the public hearing. Board of Assessors, thank you very much. Appreciate your support tonight. Agenda item number 5.
Communication from the mayor regarding fiscal year 2026 tax classification hearing information.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the communication, please.
Motion is made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Communications filed. The vote's 11-0. Agenda item number 6.
Communication from the mayor regarding transfer request in the amount of $1,039,650 from overlay reserves and sale of graves for $39,650 to offset the fiscal year 2026 tax levy.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be asking for 3 motions this evening. First motion would be to approve the transfer of $1 million from the overlay reserve to offset the FY 2026 tax levy, please.
Motion made and seconded to approve the transfer of $1 million from overlay reserve to offset the fiscal year 26 levy. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Transfer carries. The vote's 11-0. Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next motion is to approve the transfer of $39,650 from sale of graves to offset the FY 2026 tax levy.
Motion is made and seconded to approve a transfer of $39,650 for the sale of graves to offset the fiscal year 26 levy. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Transfer carries. The vote is 11-0. Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to approve the order to set the residential factor at 0.8409 with the corresponding CIP shift of 1.47, pending approval of the city's annual tax recap by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. This will result in a residential tax rate of $10.54 and a CIP rate of $18.43.
Motion made and seconded to approve the order to set the residential factor at .8409 with a corresponding CIP shift of 1.47. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The order is approved and the vote is 11-0. Board of Assessors, thank you very much. Thank you, councilors. Agenda item number 7.
Communication from the mayor regarding notification of temporary appointment pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, of Brian Doheny as interim city collector effective November 24th, 2025 for a 60-day term to expire January 23rd, 2026.
Councilor Navin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the communication.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Communication carries. It's filed. The vote is 11-0. Agenda item number 8.
Communication from the mayor regarding gift acceptance in the amount of $1,000 from Digital Federal Credit Union awarded to the police department to be used for Police Academy and Christmas Heroes for Helpers program.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to approve the gift, please.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the gift. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to quickly note that has been a very successful program, the Youth Academy, and very grateful that people are donating to it, including Digital Federal Credit Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. Any other discussion on the motion? On the approval of the gift, all those in favor? Opposed? Gifts approved. The vote is 11-0. Agenda item number 9.
Communication from the mayor regarding proposed job descriptions pursuant to Chapter 125 Personnel, Section 5, preparation of classification descriptions relative to the position of head clerk and senior clerk in the collector's office, along with a transfer request in the amount of $4,051.68 from Assistant Director of Finance to head clerk to fund the position for the remaining 26.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to refer to the Finance Committee, please.
Motion is made and seconded to refer to the Finance Committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The items go into Finance and the vote is 11-0. Agenda item number 10.
Communication from the mayor regarding proposed job description pursuant to Chapter 125 Personnel, Section 5, preparation of classification descriptions relative to the position of Comptroller Treasurer, in addition to a proposed employment contract for Brian Doheny, along with a transfer request in the amount of $20,695 from Assistant Finance Director to Comptroller Treasurer to fund the contract for the remainder of fiscal year 26.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to refer to the Finance Committee, Committee, please.
Motion made and second to refer to the Finance Committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Item carries. It's going to Finance. The vote is 11-0. Agenda item number 11.
I could be faster than you, I apologize. Communication from the mayor regarding proposed job description pursuant to Chapter 125 Personnel, Section 5, preparation of classification descriptions relative to the position of Assistant Building Commissioner.
Councilor Naven.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve.
Motion's made and seconded to approve. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The job description is approved. The vote is 11-0. Agenda item number 12.
Communication from the mayor regarding proposed acceptance of various easements as part of the approval of the Alta project between the developers and the city.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to move to approve a permanent stormwater and sanitary sewer easement and sidewalk easement on certain portions of the grantor's land, and to authorize the mayor to execute a easement agreement.
Motion made and seconded to approve the easements and allow the mayor to execute those said easements. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The order for the approval of the easements is approved, and the vote is 11-0. Item 13.
Communication from Solicitor Jason Grossfield regarding application for a special permit from Attorney Brian Falk on behalf of FD 130 Lazat LLC to convert an existing office building into multifamily dwelling units and to build 2 new buildings for a total development of 187 residential units, all for sale condominium units to be known as Glenford at Lake Williams Condominium Community to be located in the Lazat Drive Overlay District. Proper legal form, order number 25-100-9483D.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on file the communication from the solicitor, and to move the special permit down to number 22 with a note from the treasurer that the account number for the Lazat Stabilization Fund is 83600-32729. So if the clerk can read that as he reads the order and make sure that it's in there, we'll be all set. Thank you.
That will save us a lot of work going forward. Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Move this item down to number 22 and to annotate the Lazat Drive Mitigation Fund. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? That carries. It's going down to agenda item number 22. Votes 11-0. Agenda item 14.
Communication from Solicitor Jason Grossfield regarding the application for a special permit from Attorney Brian Falk on behalf of Farm Road Realty Trust and Evangelist Roofing to operate a contractor yard in a pre-existing non-conforming building in the Airport Industrial Park at 17 Airport Boulevard. Proper legal form, order number 25-100-9512C.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on communication from the solicitor, and to move the special permit language down to number 23.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication and move this down to agenda item number 23. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It carries. The vote's 11-0. It's going down to agenda item number 23 and file. Vote 11-0. Agenda item 15.
Communication from William Camuso on behalf of Lee Enterprises Limited regarding a request pursuant to Chapter 342 gasoline stations and car washes for permission to the hours granted at 431 Lincoln Street.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve a one-year extension to December 16th, 2020, operate from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Motion made and seconded to approve a one-year extension of the hours of operation from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. They're going to operate from 5 to 11 for the next year. Votes 11-0. Agenda item 16.
Communication from the Department of Public Utilities regarding notice of public hearing and request for comments on the petition of NSTAR Gas Company, DBA Eversource Energy, for approval of its 2022 to 2024 three-year energy efficiency plan term report.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on file communication.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Communication is filed. The vote is 11-0. Agenda item 17.
Communication from the Department of Public Utilities regarding notice of public hearing and request for comments on the petition of Massachusetts Electric Company and Nantucket Electric Company, each DBA National Grid, for approval of its 2022 to 2024 three-year energy efficiency plan term report.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on file the communication.
And second to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The communication is filed and the vote is 11-0. Agenda item 18.
Minutes of boards, commissions, and committees.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the minutes.
Motion's made and seconded to accept and place on file the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are filed. The vote is 11-0. Agenda item 19.
Claims.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to send the claims to legal department.
Motion made and seconded to send the claims to the legal department. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Claims are going to legal, and the vote is 11-0. Reports of committees. Who would like to go first? Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. The City Council Legislative and Legal Affairs Committee met earlier this evening, December 1st, 2025. Meeting convened at 7:15 p.m. We took up one order number 25-1009598, communication from the mayor with proposed license to encroach between BMA Electric and the City of Marlborough for a proposed deck and ramp that slightly encroaches on city property at the back of the building at 269 Mechanic Street, adjoining the rail trail. Chair Brown read the communication from the mayor, input from the engineer. Councilor Roby expressed concern the work was done prior to applying for a license. She hoped that petitioner at least applied for and was granted a permit for the work. Other councilors expressed similar concerns. On a motion by Councilor Roby, seconded by the chair, committee voted to recommend approval of the proposed lease agreement. Vote carried 3-0, and we adjourned at 7:18 p.m. I'm going to be asking for a suspension this evening.
Chair has asked for suspension of the rules. All those in favor of the suspension? Opposed? Suspension carries. Votes 11-0. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of the committee to approve.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the recommendation of the committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The committee's recommendation to execute that easement is approved, and the vote is 11-0. Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Urban Affairs Committee also met this evening, December 1st at 7:30. We had one item on our agenda, order number 25-109, application for a special permit from Attorney Falk on behalf of First Choice Auto to modify the pre-existing non-conforming auto repair use by adding automobile sales as an accessory use at the property located at 299 Maple Street. The chair read through the comments from the department heads. Attorney Falk had provided a new draft that he had added in comments from the department heads. So those were discussed. It was moved to approve the draft submitted by Attorney Falk with a couple of changes. One, to update the date of the plans and to add back in screening, which he had deleted, so that the car service storage area will be screened from Maple Street to be determined during the site plan review process. It was moved and seconded to approve the special permit 4-1, with myself being the declining vote. I would move to suspend so this could be referred to the solicitor, so it could be on the next council agenda.
There's been a motion made and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor of suspension? Opposed? Suspension carries. The vote's 11-0. Councilor Roby.
I move to refer this to the solicitor to be put in proper form for our December 15th meeting.
Motion made and seconded to send to the solicitor to be put in proper format for our next meeting. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. It's going to the solicitor to be put in proper format for our next meeting, and the vote is 11-0. Councilor Roby.
I do have another request for suspension to accept a communication.
Motion's made second for a suspension to accept the communication. Any discussion? Oh, there's no discussion. All those in favor of the suspension? Opposed? Suspension carries. The vote's 11-0. Councilor Roby.
Move to approve the time limit for JC Residential and Light Commercial LLC to January 31st at 11 o'clock. January 31st, 2026, 11 p.m.
Motion made and second to extend the time limit for the special permit to January 31st, 2026. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Naven.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to note the date of the public hearing on this extension says it's today. It says the public hearing date was today, so I just don't know if it needs to be changed before it gets filed.
Yeah, that's the applicant. We'll
We
change
will
that.
correct.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor Naven. Yeah, they'll sign that later. On the motion to extend the special permit to January 31st, 2026. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The special permit is extended to January 31st, 2026, and the vote is 11-0. Any other reports of committees, announcements? Everybody's good? Okay, agenda item number 20.
Order number 25-100, 9589, proposed job description pursuant to Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 5, relative to the position of Fire Chief. The recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve.
Councilor Navin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of committee to approve.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the recommendation of committee. All those in, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Recommendation of the committee to approve is carried, and the vote is 11-0. Agenda item number 21.
Order number 25-100, 9577, application for junk dealer license from Matthew McDonald Furlong, DBA Eco ATM LLC, 240 East Main Street. Recommendation of the Public Services Committee is to approve pending report from the police chief, which has not been received, sir.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have not yet received that, or at least I haven't seen it, but I move the recommendation of committee, pursuant to the fact that we will get that Corey report. So approving it tonight through committee, it'll still go through pending that Corey report.
Motion made and seconded to approve the petition pending the successful chief review of the Corey report. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The petition is approved pending a successful Corey report from the police chief, and the vote is 11-0. Agenda item number 22.
Order number 25-100, 9483D, application for a special permit from Attorney Brian Falk on behalf of FD 130 Lazat LLC to convert an existing office building into multifamily dwelling units and to build 2 new buildings for a total development of 187 residential units, all for sale condominium units, to be known as the Glenford at Lake Williams Condominium Community, to be located in the Lazat Drive Overlay District. Recommendation of the Urban Affairs Committee is to approve as amended.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of committee, which is to approve.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the recommendation of the committee, which is to approve the special permit. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to read the conditions, please.
The City Council, pursuant to its authority under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, and the zoning ordinance of the City of Marlborough, hereby grants the applicant a special permit to build and operate a 3-building multifamily dwelling project with a total of 187 residential units, as shown on the plan, subject to the following conditions, which conditions shall be binding on the applicant and successors and/or assigns. 1, construction in accordance with applicable laws. Construction of all structures on the site is to be in accordance with all applicable building codes and zoning regulations in effect in the City of Marlborough and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and shall be built according to the plans as may be amended during site plan review. 2, site plan review. The issuance of the special permit is further subject to detailed site plan review by the Site Plan Review Committee in accordance with Section 650-39.1 of the zoning ordinance prior to the issuance of the building permit. Subsequent site plan review shall be consistent with the conditions of this special permit and the plans submitted, reviewed, and approved by the City Council as a special permit granting authority. Any additional changes, alterations, modifications, or amendments as required during the process of site plan review shall be further conditions of this special permit, and conditions attached to the building permit and a final occupancy permit for the entire project shall not be issued until the applicant has complied with all conditions provided. However, that subsequent to the issuance of the special permit and the site plan approval, the Site Plan Review Committee may authorize the phasing of site and building work depending upon weather conditions and other factors, and final occupancy permits may be issued for the first 2 buildings completed at the site in early phases if site work related to those buildings has been completed and the applicant has complied with all conditions applicable to both the phase and the first 2 buildings in accordance with Section 650-39.1I of the zoning ordinance. The building commissioner may approve minor modifications to the special permit and the plans. 3, incorporation of submissions. All plans, photo renderings, site evaluations, briefs, and other documentation provided by the applicant as part of the application is amended or revised during the application hearing process before the City Council and/or the City Council's Urban Affairs Committee are herein incorporated into and become part of this special permit and become conditions and requirements of the same unless otherwise altered by the City Council. The final architectural design of the site shall be reasonably consistent with the plan submitted by the applicant. The final interior, exterior features of the site, including landscaping, shall be maintained in good condition and shall be reasonably consistent with the plan submitted and represent representations made to the City Council. 4, stormwater and erosion control management. The applicant shall ensure that its site superintendent during construction of this project is competent in stormwater and erosion control management. This individual's credentials shall be acceptable to the engineering division of the city's Department of Public Works and the city's Conservation Commission. This individual shall be responsible for checking the site before, during, and after storm events, including weekends and evenings when storms are predicted. This individual shall ensure that no untreated stormwater leaves the site consistent with the state's and city's stormwater regulations. This individual shall ensure compliance with the approved sequence of the approved erosion control plan. The applicant shall grant this individual complete authority of the site as it relates to stormwater and erosion controls. 5, phasing of construction. Proposed condominium buildings, one or more of the buildings together may be organized as its own condominium and constructed in phases at different times. Site plan accordance with condition 2 may be addressed in phases with separate reviews for different buildings. 6, affordable units. 12% of the dwelling units at the site shall be made available as units for sale at affordable prices to home buyers whose annual income does not exceed 80% of the area median income as defined in 655 of the zoning ordinance, in perpetuity or the longest period allowed by law, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 650-26 of the zoning ordinance and this condition. The affordable housing units shall be distributed evenly among the 3 buildings pro rata, with no less than 12% of the dwelling units in each building constituting affordable housing units. The affordable housing unit shall comply with all requirements for inclusion in the subsidized housing inventory of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Prior to obtaining an occupancy permit for any unit within a given building, the applicant, in coordination with the city and the Community Development Authority, shall file all required submissions to EOHLC for inclusion of the affordable housing units within that specific building on the SHI, and shall diligently take all actions necessary to include the affordable housing units on the SHI, including without limitation preparing, executing a regulatory agreement and declaration of restrictive covenants and or any other restrictive instrument necessary to ensure compliance with said zoning ordinance and this condition, a marketing plan, and all other required documentation. All costs associated with complying with this condition, including but not limited to the EOHLC process, recording of all documents with the Registry of Deeds, and the marketing plan for the affordable units shall be borne by the applicant. 7, transportation alternatives. A, information regarding public transportation services, maps, schedules, and fare information shall be posted in a central location and or otherwise made available to residents within each building at the site. B, a welcome packet shall be provided to residents detailing available public transportation services, bicycle and walking alternatives, commuter options, and local walking trails. C, work and home workspaces are encouraged to be provided to support telecommuting by residents of the site. D, a central mailbox provided within each building for the residents. E, secure bicycle parking shall be provided for residents and visitors, including weather-protected bicycle parking within the 2 parking garages on site. 8, green design. The applicant shall utilize best practices to design energy-efficient buildings and is encouraged to design buildings and accessory structures to accommodate accessory solar energy facilities and or other technologies as feasible. The applicant shall use best efforts to provide all electric utilities, contingent upon the utility company being able to commit to such service during the project's ordinary construction timeline. Accommodations for future electric vehicle charging stations or EV dedicated outlets shall be installed in at least 10% of the parking spaces for each building, provided that each building shall have at least 10 parking spaces with EV charging stations or EV dedicated outlets installed prior to the issuance of the first occupancy permit for any unit within the building. 9, Lizotte Drive improvements. Prior to the issuance of the final occupancy permit for the entire project, but not later than 1 year after the issuance of the final occupancy permit for the first building, the applicant, at the applicant's sole expense, shall complete the reclamation and repaving of Lizotte Drive from Lizotte Drive's intersection with Jackson Drive to the end of the Lizotte Drive cul-de-sac under the supervision of the city's Department of Public Works. Said work to start after significant construction activities at the site involving large trucks and equipment have concluded. Notwithstanding the above, the Site Plan Review Committee may authorize the city's issuance of a final occupancy permit for the entire project or extend the 1-year time frame set forth in this condition prior to the completion of said work due to weather conditions or other factors if said work is secured by a bond or other form of security held by the city in the amount deemed adequate by the city engineer to enable the city to complete the work. 10, Jackson Drive. As part of the formal site plan review, the applicant shall evaluate known as Jackson Drive in the vicinity of the site, including working with the neighboring property owners to improve or modify access to the way. 11, Lake Williams Trail Funding. Prior to the issuance of the first building permit for any part of the use, the applicant shall provide a payment to the city in the amount of $50,000 to be used by the city for maintenance and improvement to the Lake Williams Trail System, and said payment to be deposited in the city's Lazat Drive Mitigation Stabilization Account number 83600-32729. 12, William Street Ball Field Funding. Prior to the issuance of the first building permit for any part of the use, the applicant shall provide a payment to the city in the amount of $100,000 to be used by the city for improvements to the ball fields along William Street in the vicinity of the site. Said payment to be deposited in the city's Lazat Drive Mitigation Stabilization Fund, account number 83600-32729. 13, West Side Fire Station Funding. Prior to the issuance of the first building permit for each of the 3 residential buildings at the site, the applicant shall make a payment to the city in the amount of $1,000 for each multifamily dwelling unit to be developed in the respective building, for a total of $187,000 for use to be used by the city for a proposed West Side Fire Station. Said payments to be deposited in the city's West Side Fire Station Mitigation Stabilization Account, account number 83600-32701. 14, Landscaping. A detailed landscaping plan for the site shall be reviewed and further conditioned during the site plan review process. The landscaping plan shall be more robust than is required by the zoning ordinance and shall provide shade, canopy, and use native plants to improve habitat. The applicant shall maintain the landscaping at the site for the duration of the use. 15, Lighting. Exterior lighting at the site shall be downward facing and shielded to minimize impacts on neighboring properties, with the lighting plan for the site to be reviewed and further conditioned during the site plan review process. 16, Conservation Commission approval. The applicant shall obtain and comply with an order of conditions from the city's Conservation Commission. 17, compliance with applicable laws. The applicant agrees to comply with all municipal, state, and federal rules, regulations, and ordinances as they may apply to the construction, maintenance, and operation of the use. And finally, 18, recording of decision. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 11, the applicant at its expense shall record this special permit in the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds after the city clerk has certified that the 20-day period for appealing this special permit has elapsed with no appeal having been filed, and before the applicant has applied to the building commissioner for a building permit. Upon recording, the applicant shall forthwith provide a copy of the recorded special permit to the city council office, the building department, and the city solicitor's office.
Well done, Mr. Clerk. Councilors, heard the list of conditions. Any further comments on the special permit application? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll. A yes vote is to support the special permit. A no vote is to not.
Councilor Doucette?
Yes.
Councilor Roby?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
I abstain.
Councilor Oram?
Yes.
Councilor Irish?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Navin?
Yes.
Councilor Preciado?
Yes.
Councilor Ossing?
Yes.
Councilor Fucillo?
Yes.
Councilor Vital?
Yes.
10 yea, 1 abstention, sir.
The special permit for 130 Lazat Drive is approved by a vote of 10 in favor with 1 abstained. Agenda item number 23.
Order number 25-100-9512C, the application for a special permit from Attorney Brian Falk on behalf of Farm Road Realty Trust and Evangelist Roofing to operate a contractor yard in a pre-existing non-conforming building in the Airport Industrial Park at Boulevard. Recommendation of the Urban Affairs Committee is to approve as amended.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of committee to approve, and I would like to just comment. I know it probably should have been said as we discussed it, but since I made comments on the earlier discussion, I think this is another one of those cases where the cart before the horse. I'm glad that we're approving this, but they should have been here 2 years ago. So, with that said, move the recommendation of committee.
I will not disagree with you. Motion's been made and seconded to move the recommendation of the committee, which is to approve the special permit. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to please read the conditions.
The City Council, pursuant to its authority under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, and the zoning ordinance of the City of Marlborough, hereby grants the applicant a special permit for a contractor's yard, including changing the use of a pre-existing non-conforming structure for a contractor's yard at 17 Airport Boulevard, Unit 20, as shown on the plans filed, subject to the following conditions, which conditions shall be binding on the applicant, its successors, and/or assigns. 1, construction in accordance with applicable laws. Construction of all structures on the site is to be in accordance with all applicable building codes and zoning regulations in effect in the City of Marlborough and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and shall be built in accordance with the plans as may be amended during site plan review. 2, site plan plan review. The issuance of this special permit is further subject to detailed site plan review by the Site Plan Review Committee in accordance with the City of Marlborough Site Plan Review Ordinance prior to the issuance of the building permit. Any additional changes, alterations, modifications, or amendments as required during the process of site plan review shall be further conditions attached to the building permit, and no final occupancy permit shall be issued until the applicant has complied with all conditions. Provided, however, that subsequent to the issuance of this special permit and the site plan approval, the Site Plan Review Committee may authorize the phasing of site and building work depending upon weather conditions and other factors. Subsequent site plan review shall be consistent with the conditions of this special permit and the plan submitted, reviewed, and approved by the City Council as a special permit granting authority. 3, modification of plans, notwithstanding conditions 1 and 2 above, the City Council or Site Plan Review Committee may approve engineering changes to the plan so long as said change as approved herein or materially increase the impervious area of the use, reduce the green area, alter traffic flow, or increase the size of the building, all as shown on the plans. 4, incorporation of submissions. All plans, photo renderings, site evaluations, briefs, and other documentation provided by the applicant as part of the application and is amended or revised during the application hearing process before the City Council and or the City Council's Urban Affairs Committee are herein incorporated into and become part of this special permit and become conditions and requirements of the same unless otherwise altered by the City Council. 5, stormwater and erosion control management. The applicant, its successors, and or assigns shall ensure that its site superintendent during construction of the project is competent in stormwater and erosion control management. This individual's credentials shall be acceptable to the Engineering Division of the city's Department of Public Works and the city's Conservation Commission. This individual shall be responsible for checking the site before, during, and after storm events, including weekends and evenings when storms are predicted. This individual shall ensure that no untreated stormwater leaves the site consistent with the state's and city stormwater regulations. This individual shall ensure compliance with all approved sequence of construction plans and the approved erosion control plan. The applicant, its successors, and or assigns shall grant this individual complete authority of the site as it relates to stormwater and erosion controls. 6, screening. In accordance with Section 650-18A48 of zoning ordinance, the applicant shall install solid fencing with vegetated screening to screen areas of the site used for the storage of vehicles, equipment, and other materials from the street and adjacent properties, and shall maintain such screening in good repair. Any fencing shall comply with the requirements of the applicable city ordinances. 7, outdoor storage areas. In accordance with Section 650-18A48 of the zoning ordinance, the outdoor storage of vehicles, equipment, and materials shall be located on impervious and otherwise dust-free surfaces. Materials shall be stored with sufficient protections to avoid damage to landscaped areas and to avoid interference with the proper functioning of stormwater infrastructure. Lawn areas shall be separated from adjacent parking storage areas with curbing and barriers to prevent the use of lawn areas for materials or vehicle storage. 8, indoor storage areas. Building areas used to store vehicles, equipment, and materials indoors shall be equipped with floor drainage systems designed to prevent fuel, oil, and other hazardous materials from entering the stormwater or sewer systems approved through the site plan review process. 9, vehicle repairs and maintenance. The site may not be used for major repairs of vehicles and equipment, but minor maintenance of vehicles exclusively operated as part of the use may be performed indoors only, subject to condition 10. 10, noise and air quality. The applicant and successors and or assigns shall comply with the city's noise ordinance and shall comply with the state, federal requirements governing air quality and emissions. 11, lighting. Exterior lighting at the site shall be downward facing and shielded to minimize impacts on neighboring properties, with a lighting plan for the site to be reviewed and further conditioned during the site plan review process. Exterior lighting at the site shall be shut off outside of operating hours except for lighting necessary for security and emergency access. 12, compliance with applicable laws. The applicant and successors and or assigns agrees to comply with all municipal, state, and federal rules, regulations, and ordinances as they may apply to the construction, maintenance, and operation of the use. And 13, recording of decision. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 11, the applicant at its successors and or assigns at its expense shall record this special permit in the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds after the city clerk has certified that the 20-day period for appealing this special permit has elapsed and no appeal having been filed, and before the applicant has applied to the building commissioner for a building permit. Upon recording, the applicant shall forthwith provide a copy of the recorded special permit to the city council office, the building department, and the city solicitor's office.
Well done, Mr. Kerrigan. Thank you, sir. Councilor, conditions, any discussions or comments on the conditions? If not, I will ask the clerk to call the roll. A yes vote is to approve the special permit. A no vote is to not approve the special permit. Mr. Kerrigan.
Councilor Frugillo.
Yes.
Councilor Oram.
Yes.
Councilor Vidal.
Yes.
Councilor Ossing.
Yes.
Councilor Sargent. Councilor Preciado.
Yes.
Councilor Irish.
Yes.
Councilor Doucette.
Yes.
Councilor Navin.
Yes.
Councilor Brown.
Yes.
And Councilor Roby.
Yes.
10 yea, 1 abstention, sir.
The special permit for the Evangelist Roofing Contractor Yard at the Airport Boulevard is approved with 10 in favor with 1 abstention. Councilor Navin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned at 9:29. Troop 2, thank you for hanging in there. I probably didn't get any new